For the first time in Zenless Zone Zero, we can confidently say we've been introduced to one of, and if not, the most tragic villain in all of Hoyo, with implications that'll change the entire landscape of Zenless Zone Zero going forward. And Hoyo didn't even need more than one update to prove it. So my question to you is, how dark can Zenless Zone Zero go? I'm Unpopular Opinion and welcome to, spoiler alert, if you haven't played up to version 1.6 of the story, The Echoes of Silver, you probably should, as it's really good and important for this video. Now you've been warned, and let's get back to the video. As of now, we're at the release of 1.7, and we can say there is a lot of content, from the fun stuff to the more edgier stuff we wanted to see since the beginning of our journey. Now if Nicole is considered to be the funnier side, then characters like Anby show us just how dark the city of New Eridu is, especially under the surface, with its hints of foreshadowing found throughout the game and its trailers on YouTube and other media. And if you're caught up on the latest updates, with Anby's new 5-star form and her agent story detailing some of her life before Nicole and its potential future, you'll know that today's character is none other than Twiggy, the voiceless and forgotten sister of Anby. Is it this bird? Hell no! Is it this girl or is it this girl? No, maybe it's this girl. It's like playing Among Us in here. How many silver-haired characters have Hoyo created at this point? Oh, here it is. Introducing Twiggy. And if you're thinking that this girl looks awfully like Anby, well, you're in luck, as they're in fact related by something quite commonly called cloning, which is the scientific method of creating an exact genetic replica of another cell, tissue, and organism, with our case being Twiggy and the other soldiers. An artificial life form created with the intentions of war and profit, but lived with trauma and suffering from her creators. And on another little note, I'm not sure who is considered the actual original sample for the clones, as it wasn't explained, but maybe it'll be mentioned in the future with another update. But yeah, back to the video. Now Twiggy is just one of the many clones or copies created by this silver company, and considered to be one of the many defects in which all of them were basically considered to be. The silver company was considered to be a part of a military division, or in better terms, an experimental project in which they wanted to create superhuman weapons to take over for the humans of New Eridu in the fight against the Hollows. Simple, right? Now let's look at Exhibit A and why this idea sounds really great. You get the gist, but due to further human greed and rather intentions, it gets so much worse. So with a couple seconds of footage you've just seen, you can say, oh, this is slightly worse than a church in an isekai. And now let's list just some more fucked up things that this company has done. Creating artificial life, which is clearly saying, we're God. Disposing said life when they're no longer needed or of any use. That's just fucking murder. Testing their loyalty through unethical orders such as killing themselves when asked. Now, from what little we've seen, this is already darker than what we've seen from most of the game and its other IPs. Now fast forward a little, and for some reason the Silver Company had to shut down the Silver Project, which halted the production of the Silver Soldiers. But how does this affect our Twiggy in the long run? Well, besides the rather horrific upbringing she had, with suffering and watching her family die, the company had to dispose of the replicas and only allowed the most perfect of the clones with the permission to live. Now, the disposed clones were sent on a suicide mission with everyone but Soldier 11 going. Now, this mission had killed the majority of the replicas, with only Anby returning back from the mission, and Twiggy miraculously surviving from the brutal mission of death and pain. While Anby and Soldier 11 eventually went on to what we call better lives, Twiggy on the other hand was forgotten even by the company, and her torturous survival from the mission ended up sending her down a very dark and twisted path. The result of her survival had Twiggy finding herself surrounded by the corpses of her family, unable to move due to missing limbs, and could only cry, in which no one could even hear that deafening sound she must have made. Eventually, Twiggy was found, but things did not go well from there at all, as a newfounded survival had turned into an even harsher reality in which she was being sold from one person to the next. She was nothing more than a thing to the so-called people, and that she had no ability to fight back against this cruel purchasing on her life. Then she was found by a military doctor and purchased, where she played with her body over and over again, twisting the mind just as much as the body was, allowing her to fully acknowledge and understand the pure evil that she and her family were protecting from the Hollows. During the times where she was experimented on, she was given the ability to walk and touch with prosthetic limbs. Now, we don't know if Twiggy had killed the person that experimented on her again and again, as the doctor was never talked about after this. But we do know that the doctor did leave her with a broken psyche that could only see the world as a true enemy, and one that would be able to use and throw away her family like the people of New Eridu did to her. But this was in fact not the final straw that broke Twiggy. She had known that a part of her family from the Silver Company was still alive, and had discovered Anby and Haran, Soldier 11, were alive. It didn't matter how, but the emotions she would have had when she discovered that they were alive, pure happiness, knowing that she wasn't alone, and that changed again when she found out that they had just moved on, forgetting the past and living on with their lives, as if nothing horrible had ever happened or occurred. And just seeing this had broken her in a way that she was forcing herself to create a new family from her very DNA that would be used as a source of light, and an army that would be used to fight New Eridu for revenge and everything that she had suffered throughout her entire life. Now, by this time, the new clones of the resurrected Silver Company were not perfect, as they could not fight on the level of a Silver Soldier, and due to the funding necessary to keep the project alive, she had to take on many jobs in order to ensure the survival of her dream to be with her family again. And this led to the new clones being used as organ donors for the black market, allowing the research to continue as long as there's bodies to be harvested. Even during the events of this agent's story, you could tell that she didn't care if she ended up dead. All she had wanted was just one thing: a home. Now, a villain like Twiggy showed us a complex past, all for a future she knew would never come for her. Even in the cruel and broken world that she had grown up in, she just wanted a place for her family. She was even forgiven by the clones she had created and thrown away, as they were happy that they were given the very chance to be born. And with their final words, they'd promised her that she would never be alone again.
Thank you for letting me be born. I will never let you be lonely.
Playing through this short agent story, which, let's be honest, should have been a main story mission, completely blew my mind away. Like, wow. It showed us that Hoyo could create a very complex and compelling villain in such a very short time, while also showing us a much darker side of New Eridu, which most people forget is the last bastion of humanity. And it goes as far to show us exactly how far some of the people at the top go in order to keep humanity running and living for just one more day. Even at the end of Twiggy's life, it's unsure if her life and her mission had affected any of New Eridu, as ultimately Anby was given the final decision, which was unfair, to either save the final remnants of her family or destroy the last of the Silver Company's research, ensuring no one could create more disposable lives. Even now, many of us are unsure if the decision she made was the right one, and honestly, we couldn't have bared the consequences of that decision, as it asked a very hard question: if all life is equal, whether it's manufactured or not, leaving her decision off screen to show the enormous effect of the said decision. Twiggy's death didn't change anything. Even if her dreams shattered, even if she couldn't change the world in her vision, she had changed and questioned the very standard of life, becoming one of Hoyo's greatest villains through powerful storytelling that potentially affect the main story massively going forward. So viewers, let me ask you this: what decision did you think Anby made in the end? If so, why? I hope you enjoyed this video to the point you feel inclined to give your small boy some love with a sub or a like to spread my reach to the stars. And I hope to see you in a future video. I'm Unpopular Opinion, and peace out.